gorgeous, hanging like a sword off Orion's belt there. And hello, everybody. I'm Stargazer Mark out here in my backyard, trying to encourage you to get outside your backyard to stay star curious. Welcome, everybody, as we're broadcasting from the American Space Museum in downtown Titusville, where, boy, is it, we've been shivering. We being my co producer, Marty Winkle. Hey, Marty, it's kind of been cold down here in Florida, and it's going to be cold for the next week. Excuse me, with highs in the 40s and lows in the 30s. Freezing, right, my friend?
No, I wouldn't say freezing, but it sure is darn cold.
There's something about living down here 7 years that my blood has gotten thinner, and my dear mom up in Findlay, Ohio, telling me wind chills 7 below and that kind of stuff. But the stars are the same, just like our background here. We're seeing Orion rising above the treetops. Thank you, Marty. The belt of Orion you can see so distinctly, and this is the sword of Orion, and that's not a star. That is the great nebula of Orion. We'll see some close-up pictures of it. That's one of the bright stars there, Rigel. Just out of view is Betelgeuse we're going to talk about. And use your binoculars. Get outside, and I know it's cold, but you know what? If you're properly dressed in your winter clothes, a lot of you people go out in the cold and snow ski and have fun doing sledding and outdoor activities, hockey. But if you put that same on and you go outside on a 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, crispy, clear night, it's like you're an astronaut walking on the moon. You're in an environment that usually you're not familiar with all the time. And the stars above you, as your eyes take in the cosmos, will, I guarantee you, make you feel a lot better. So, got my hat on here, ARS, the Australian Research Science Exploration. That's their NASA. Thank you, Cliff Watson. Going to take that off because I'll overheat here a little bit. And oh my gosh, what am I wearing here, Marty? Yes, sirree. Go Buckeyes today, all right? National championship against the Notre Dame. And uh, eat your heart out there, you Michiganders. Dave Stange up there, and Chris Callie, and so forth. I love my scarf here. Isn't that nice? And few days a year I can get it out, and one of them's today. So let's enjoy looking up at the stars, learning a little bit about those stars. Aren't all alike, Marty. And this is something I really love sharing with people. The stars are like people. They're different sizes and they're different ages, okay? And you're going to be maybe amazed at how small or how large some of the stars are that we see in the sky. This is also a time of year when we see more bright stars than any other time of the year. And yes, we've got 4 planets that are going to knock your eyes out when you walk outside. Well, you got to look outside to look at them. But we do have 4 planets. The 4 main bright planets are making an appearance. This is not once in a lifetime thing. This is not a rare opportunity, and I'm going to explain why it's not rare, that we have 4 or 5 planets it's strung out all the time, all right? So stay curious, stay star curious. Let me push up here my button for my smart tablet so I can talk to you good people there, and hit live, and there we have, who's watching already there? Oh yeah, we got Cliff Watson. Thank you, Cliff, for the hat. And Dean Babcock up in Illinois. Steve Jokins up at Fox Lake. I may call you after the show about stuff, Steve, we've been talking about. And my daughter, Jessica. Hello there, McKinley, my granddaughter, and little Macy. And my daughter says like, subscribe, and she loves these backyard astro videos. It really hits home for her. She says, yeah, I drug Jessica out to the telescope a few hundred times, a few times when her boyfriends were dropping her off. And I said, hey, you want to look at Mars here? And so anyway, Dave Stange's on a cold and clear up there. Ace Boogie Stacks, great to have you. And Robert Law is watching from Dundee, Scotland. Robert, and I'm going to show you the G spot, or the giant G in the sky here, in just a little bit. And Carlton Bailey, he's chilly, 53 degrees in Cocoa. And Robert Law says last week he did a grand tour of the planets at the observatory. And that's what's interesting is they're all lined up in the evening sky, all of them but Pluto. And you're never going to see Neptune and Uranus. They're even hard to see with a good backyard telescope. But bear with me, we're going to see the ones that you can see and do a little stargazing, just like you could do in your own backyard. This, of course, is the week when I say celebrate the lives of the three of the tragedies, the lives of the 17 astronauts we lost in these three tragedies. I think one of the best memorials is here in Titusville, Sunday, January 26th at 1 o'clock. We'll be broadcasting it live on our YouTube channel. And Trekkie Techie, Jessica is helping us with that. So thank you, Jessica, for your help there. Gary Gerald's up there in Georgia. Good afternoon to you. I know he's got some good farm clothes on to keep him warm, and that's the type of thing you would wear to go outside. I've got a one-piece, one of those Carhartt things, or where'd I get it? Maybe Tractor Supply. You buy something from there, you're going to stay warm, and I wear something like that to stargaze. Andy Allen is an astronaut. He was a commander of STS-75 that was Columbia. He was also a pilot on 62 that was Columbia. And he's going to be doing the honors there. We'll talk more about that tomorrow and later in the week. Wednesday, we've got Bob Granath. Granath is going to come on. Bob Granath is going to talk about the history of Kennedy Space Center. So we're looking forward to that from Bob. Marty, speaking like an astronomer, today the moon is 22 days old. It's actually 21 and a half days old. So that means it is first quarter. And in an astronomer's mind, I mean, it's last quarter, excuse me. It's last quarter. It's 7 days after full moon. So that means it's going to rise around midnight. So you're not going to see the quarter moon until after midnight. That's good for amateur astronomers because the moonlight interferes with all but the brightest stars and objects. Does not affect the planets, though. You can look at the moon. You can look at the moon and planets from a suburban parking lot. All right, but the faint fuzzies we call them, like the Andromeda Galaxy, the Great Nebula of Orion, star clusters, and such, are obscured when it's bright out. So the next week and a half, 2 weeks, is when astronomers will be doing a lot of photography of those deep sky objects and such because the moon rises away after midnight. 21-day-old moon today. You get you a star map or get you a planisphere. This is a planisphere we show you many times. I got another one here. Here's a better one. They come in different sizes, different formats. Okay. You set your date on the edge, match the time with the date, and that shows you the sky. Well, this is from starmaps.com, a very cool site to have. And we're here in December 20th. The moon is near Regulus, the brightest star in Leo. So when the moon rises, if you're a night owl or you go out 2 or 3 in the morning to let the dogs out and you see the moon, that bright star is going to be Regulus, the brightest star in Leo the lion. And then, of course, the December solstice, the first day of winter, is officially tomorrow. So that 9:19 UT, that's about 0 UT 7. So that's about somewhere 3, 4 in the morning is when it officially happens tomorrow. And last quarter moon is officially on the 22nd. So the moon's lost in the morning sky, and that makes the sky dark. What's that blue band across there? That's the Milky Way. Well, you think about the Milky Way in the summertime. Well, yeah, but there's a winter Milky Way. This summer Milky Way is setting so quickly here. And here at the end of the month, that should be way over at the top up there. But the Big Dipper's making its appearance in the north, and we'll be talking about other sites here to see. But these constellations have about 8 of the brightest stars. There's 20 bright stars in the sky that we call first magnitude or brighter, and 6 to 8 of them are visible at one time in the night sky in the winter. Yes, the planets strung out from Mercury to Neptune, and with an asterisk for Pluto. But the traditional planets here are strung out across the sky, except Mercury is still visible in the morning sky, is going to jump up to the evening sky the first part of February. And it will be hard to see next to the Earth glare. But I just want to emphasize this is not an unusual event to see planets, so many of them in the sky at one time. It's all happenstance by our relationship in our orbit to where they are, and there are different times that they orbit around the sun. For example, Mercury takes 88 days, Venus 240 days, Earth 365 days, Mars 667 days, Jupiter, which is 2 years, Jupiter 12 years to go around the sun, Saturn 30 years, Uranus 84, Neptune, I think 96 for Neptune. So some are moving slow, some fast, and you have like a racetrack. Some are lapping each other periodically. They line up, and you have something like this: Venus in the west, brightest thing in the sky except the sun and the moon. Saturn's right next to it. They're very close to each other, and Venus is going to go to the left of Saturn. Jupiter is so bright when it's dark in the east, and Mars rises right at sunset and will be up high up by 8, 9 o'clock at night. Very, very red next to another red star, Aldebaran and Taurus the Bull. So there you have Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, Mars, Neptune, Saturn. But wait a minute, that's not the order I just told you in. Well, let me go back here. Sorry, below the birthday. See, I say it's Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. So what's this? This is the summer. This is June of last year. Okay, June of 2023. Actually, not 2024, 2023, when the planets were all lined up in the morning sky. Okay, and they were talking about that like they were, that this is a rare thing. No, it's not rare. Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter were very easy to see. And Mercury somewhat, Uranus and Neptune not. The only one missing here is Venus. So this is not a crazy, one-of-a-kind thing to see. It happens all the time, but it is cool that we have Venus and Saturn so close, and Jupiter and Mars. Mars is at opposition, meaning opposite the Earth, as close as it'll come in the next 2 years. And I've been looking at it through my backyard scope to see the polar caps and some dark markings. All right, let's finally get to that birthday. I can't, 2 astronauts that I've got to interrupt our backyard. I got to go in and get a drink and then take a refreshment and some snacks outside and ruin my eyes. So I'm going to, but it's worth it to say happy birthday to this guy, Jerry Ross, 7-time astronaut, tied with Franklin Chang Diaz with the most flights of any American. Boiler up. He was a Purdue graduate. Jerry Lynn Ross was born January 20th, 1948 in Crown Point, Indiana. He has done 11 spacewalks. 10 are in the books. The 11th one was a Department of Defense mission that he talked about at a luncheon I talked to him at. He said he was mad that he couldn't make it official, but he couldn't tell us what he did on that spacewalk, except he insinuated that he had to take an antenna and straighten it up because it didn't deploy. So he's 77 years old, Marty, and Crown Point, Indiana celebrates their native son. He went to high school there, Purdue University. Had some very, very interesting flights of 7. Wrote a book, Spacewalker, My Journey in Space and Faith. Okay. And there he is. That was on the cover of one of his books. That's one of the very famous photographs, selfies of astronauts, or maybe that was taken by another astronaut, I think. That's the Compton Observatory in the background there that he helped deploy in space. Uh, and he's that autobiography of his is really well liked. Uh, and you can go Purdue to see his bio there. See if he Purdue University has all of his papers and so forth, and he's an astronaut Hall of Fame 2014. He shares his birthday with the one and only Buzz Aldrin. And I'm sure you space geeks may have already wished Buzz a happy 95th birthday. There he is in his 70s. We call that the visor shot, folks, because Neil in the LEM number 5 that Marty helped build and service uh, is in the visor, and that's Buzz, one of the most iconic photographs ever taken in the history of mankind. That photograph, Marty, will be seen 1,000 years from now if the Earth is around. I guarantee it. That will be the photo of man's first landing on alien world. Buzz, of course, the second human to walk on the moon, Apollo 11, July 1869 at age 40. West Point grad, a brainiac. He invented his Massachusetts Institute of Technology doctoral thesis was line of sight guidance techniques for manned orbital rendezvous. And he was nicknamed Dr. Rendezvous. And he used a slide rule to solve problems on the spacewalk in Gemini 12 with Jim Lovell. And Jim Lovell is 96 years old, a year older than him. They're the two oldest living astronauts. And he wrote a book, Magnificent Desolation. In 2009, 40th anniversary, hit the books there. There is his handprints that we proudly display. And I walk by every day here in this museum. I probably put my hands on it. A bunch, Marty. I'd say more than 400 or 500 times. Been here 7 years. I usually always set my hands on there when I walk by, just because I can. He wrote a bunch of children's books, and he really has promoted going back to Mars. The Mars Cycler is like a wagon train of spaceships with supplies going, 4 or 5 ships of supplies, and then astronauts going. Really, and if you followed Buzz over the last few years, decade, he's been a real Twitter monster at one time. And he legally changed his name to Buzz in 1988, a nickname stemming from his sister's young interpretation of brother as buzzer. She called him Buzzer instead of brother. So, and another trivia question we didn't load up, Marty, but we will tomorrow have a good trivia question. What was Buzz Aldrin's mother's maiden name? You know, Marty?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me on that UCF family microphone.
I thought you might use that for a trivia question tomorrow.
Huh?
I thought you wanted to use it for a trivia question tomorrow.
Oh, no, we'll come up with another. I said we'll have a good one tomorrow for you.
Her last name was Mars.
No. Moon.
Well, I'm sorry, Moon. Yeah.
You said Mars.
Yeah.
See? I know you probably meant moon, but you said Mars. That's like me. All right. Before we get into the backyard astronomy, Carlton, let's see. How about the video with the egg? Okay. Don't know about that. Saturn is passing Venus to the left down here. That's right. Jerry Ross, Tom Celentano says is a great guy. He is. I met him several times. Usually I've met him with a beer in his hand at some of the reunions they've had. Cliff Watson has photos of Uranus passing an eclipsed moon. Okay, Cliff, that's right. Took that during one of the eclipses. And everybody knew Dean Babcock, Doug Forrest knew moon. Can't make that up. That's cool. Buzz Aldrin's mom's maiden name was Moon. So, let's go back outside. I got my hot beverage in a thermos. I got some snacks. I got my earbuds in my Bluetooth radio playing my favorite music, maybe a little jazz to get me in the mood for the evening. And we're going to go out and first see the planets under the sky. And they're going to be in this order. And here's a photograph taken a couple nights ago, not by me, but by an astrophotographer in Europe. That's Venus, and to the left of it is Saturn. All right. And so they're very close to each other, and then Venus is going to the left of Saturn. Then it'll come back in about a week or two and go by it again as it's reaching its highest point above the western horizon, and then it'll start dropping down. And there you got the beautiful horizon there. All right, not too much of a Venus belt there. That's usually pink. If you could look through a telescope, Venus looks like a half moon. Of course, it's covered in 30-mile thick layer of clouds, so we never see the surface. Nonetheless, sometimes you can see some patterns in those clouds through a telescope, but that's why it's so bright. Is like a mirror reflecting back. And here is the same size as of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. Okay, so Mars is a lot smaller than Jupiter and Saturn, and Jupiter's closer. That's why it's so much bigger than Saturn. Uh, Jupiter's 88,000 miles across, Saturn about 70, and Mars is half the size of Earth at 4,000 miles across. Okay, but this is what you expect in a telescope, except the rings of Saturn aren't edge on like that, aren't flat and wide like that. They close to edge on, and will disappear here in by the end of February. It'll just be a line like a spike going through them, and they'll be back. The planet's not moving. It's our relationship of the planet and the Earth as we go around, and it's every year, and it goes around every 30 years, the sun. Last week, the moon passed in front of the planet Mars. Here's a professional photo of Mars. You can see dark markings and a hint of the polar cap. Not much of a northern polar cap that is made of carbon dioxide, but excellent photo of the done by a very experienced astrophotographer. But that was, of course, last Monday night, and of course, it was cloudy here. NASA weighs how to retrieve rocks from Mars. You look up at Mars when you look to the east tonight, and there's bright Mars. There's a less bright star next to it. That's Aldebaran, the eye of the bull of Taurus. And you look up there, there's 2 rovers on there, about 5 other spacecraft orbiting it, and we have a couple dozen test tube size samples of Mars that we wanted to retrieve. We thought we were going to retrieve them in the next couple years, but that plan fell through. So they're trying to find the money to build a spacecraft to go and bring these back, and basically they've got a few ideas how to do it. Basically land a spacecraft that's a rover that picks them up, but you have to have a spacecraft on it that's going to launch off Mars to bring it back. And that's what makes it super expensive, on the order of like $12 billion, some of the quotes. So the story starts out, they're going to leave it up to the Trump presidency to decide how to retrieve these rocks from Mars. So, Marty, if I was China, I would steal them. I would build something on a with and just get there first and take them, and be the bad kid on the block. I I don't think that'll ever happen, but that's sort of my spitefulness of NASA deserves this. How could you plan a mission like this, Marty, and not have the retrieval mission already in the works and paid for and ready to build and launch, within a couple years? Every 2 years is when Earth and Mars are close and we can launch things to it. Notice nobody's talking about any missions to Mars. This is an opportunity we've missed. And so it'll be 2027 when the opportunity arises again to launch something to Mars, because you want to do it when we're closest to each other. And then you have 2029 and 2031, and they're talking about these missions. They'll be lucky 2040s to get these back, and who knows? Maybe China will walk up to them and pick them up and put it in their pocket on there. So, as an amateur astronomer all my life and an advocate of space exploration, they did not create the money to build the retrieval spaceship. Once it was a big deal that they've left these test tubes there with different interesting samples that could have the trace of life in them. That's why they chose the samples. They're from bedrock that was underwater for millions of years, or a pond or lake area. And who knows, there could be, dead roly-polies in there. Maybe a some sort of a worm impression left like a prehistoric rock. So you look at Mars, there's a lot going on. It's more than just a bright red star or something like this that you look through your telescope. There are 2 rovers, Curiosity and Perseverance. We had a helicopter on Mars for a while, and I think there's 5 orbiters. Not all American. We've got India orbiting, no Russian, but China's also orbiting. So these are the bright stars of the sky when you go out. And Orion is in the middle. See the 3 belted stars of Orion. You can't miss Orion. Marty, you can even see Orion. I know you've seen the belt of the stars. He doesn't connect the shoulders and the kneecaps of the big giant, but trust me. So you've got these bright stars, Betelgeuse. This is going to make a G in the sky, 642 light years away. Rigel, 800 light years away. That's really far away. Light left there in 1225. What was happening in 1225 AD, Marty? I don't know. One thing, no one was bugging the Native Americans on North America because they did 200 more years to get here. Sirius, though, is the brightest star in the sky. And, of course, Venus and Jupiter are brighter, and sometimes Mars. It's 8.6 light years away. And it's not that much brighter than Rigel, all right, which is 800 light years away, all right, 100 times further. If we switch the 2 stars and put Rigel where Sirius is, and Sirius where Rigel is, you would not see Sirius because it wouldn't be bright enough. And Rigel would shine in the daylight and cast a shadow. It wouldn't rival the sun for brightness, but it would, at nighttime, you could probably read something by it. It'd be so bright. And Procyon, another bright star, it's 11 light years away, close like Sirius. And then you have Pollux and Castor, which are the 2 stars of Gemini, the twins. All right. And they are close to each other, 50 to 34 light years away. And then up top is, what is it, the top up there? That's Capella. Yeah, let me make that smaller there. Yeah, Capella is pretty far away, 421 light years away. And then Aldebaran is 65 light years away. Yeah, Capella's 42 light years away. And Aldebaran is 65 light years away. So you got 2 of these 7 bright stars are very far away light years, and the others are 10 times closer. So it is the powerful output of energy that makes stars bright, or their closeness to us. There again is the celestial G asterism. Or they can also connect the Rigel and Taurus, and they just call it the big octagon in the sky. And there you see some of the stars are connected in their constellations. Well, I'm not going to go through this in too much detail, but stars are different sizes, okay? And these are stars that are compared to different sizes at the bottom, all right? Okay, at the top, left corner, is the moon, Mars, Venus, and Earth, okay? And then you take Earth on the second panel at the top, and that's Earth, Neptune, or Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Mars to scale. All right. And then the bottom one, you take Jupiter. See how big Jupiter is. Everything can fit inside of Jupiter. And that's easy to see here. You put Saturn in there, there's still room for all the other planets and asteroids and comets. So Jupiter in the middle, number 3, Jupiter's on the bottom, and you've got a star that is a red dwarf. You have our sun, and you have the star Sirius. And like I said, Sirius is only 8 light years away, but it's twice the size of our sun. And then the next one, you've got Sirius, Pollux, which is in Gemini, and then Arcturus, and then Aldebaran. Look at how huge Aldebaran is. If in Taurus the Bull, if we put our sun in the center, all right, Aldebaran is going to swallow up the orbit of Mars, all right. And then you got some bigger stars there. So stars can be huge, and the more bigger they are, they're less bright, but they're kind of like wobbly, big balloons that you would inflate. All right, and this is what the Webb telescope will see the surface of Aldebaran. I'm pretty sure it may have already detected some of that. So this is to give you an idea. Here's Betelgeuse. I'm going to talk about Betelgeuse in a minute. On the bottom panel, you have Aldebaran in the upper right, then Rigel, Antares, and Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse would almost go out to the orbit of Mars and suck it up, or into the asteroids. So do you get it? Look at Betelgeuse. There's even stars bigger than it that are almost the size out to Uranus or Neptune. All right. What causes this and how is all this, they age and so forth? Well, that's something called the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. And that Hertzsprung-Russell diagram puts the bigger a star starts, the shorter its lifespan. All right. And our star's kind of small, and it's going to live 14 billion years. And it's about halfway through that. All right. Aldebaran, on the other hand, is going to be lucky to last 4 billion years. All right. Which is the age of our solar system. Let's see. We've got Elena is watching. Adhikara. Elena, thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. Big B's watching. Thanks for joining the party here. We've got a great family, including Cliff Watson, who is emphasizing things down under or upside down. In other words, he would see the Orion is be the other way around like that, because he's down under in Pomona, Australia. Hope you're doing okay, mate. Now there's Betelgeuse. When you go out and look at Betelgeuse, every night I go out and look and see if Betelgeuse is still there, Marty, because it is going to blow up one day. These big, heavy, fat stars are going to implode on themselves and blow up in a supernova. We know this for a fact, and they think Betelgeuse is going to happen any day now or 1,000 years from now, but probably within the next 10 centuries it'll blow up. And if we do, it'll be bright in the sky and then fade down. Well, 3 years ago, we had a situation where it did dim. And I went outside and I noticed that it was dim. I hadn't seen it for a couple nights, maybe because it was cloudy. And I go, Betelgeuse doesn't look as bright to me, comparing it with the other stars around there, particularly the one up the top that's the other shoulder star, Saf, is almost as bright. And it looked a lot dimmer than Saf. And certainly it was because it dimmed. And what happened was it burped up, so to speak, some material as it's fixing to become a supernova. There's a cataclysmic change happening there. And part of the cloud that it belched out was between the Earth and the star and obscured it and made it less bright. As you see over here, the dimming of Betelgeuse. Again, there's Betelgeuse in size with the other stars. So here's a fancy star filter that I took a picture of Orion with. And you can do that too in your backyard. And the star filter is only on, it's probably about a 2-minute exposure. I think I guided it. and star filter's only on there for about 30 seconds. And here you see the great nebula of Orion in the middle of the three stars or his belt. Dangling down is a sword. In the middle of it is a bright nebula, Orion. Again, these stars, some are close, some are far away. All right. Betelgeuse is again 310 light years away. Rigel, 910. The great nebula of Orion is 1,300 light years away. So you're seeing light that left Orion in 800 AD. All right. And you're seeing it with your own eyeball. It left at 800 AD. And here at 21, no, 800, I'm saying 700. Yeah, we're not 2100, we're 2025. So 700 AD is when the light left. Same way with the three stars of the belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. All right. The light from Mintaka, the one on the lower left 2,300 years ago. All right. 300 BC. And people were looking up at Orion just like they are today. So, again, just a beautiful color rendition. You can get the hint of the reddish star Betelgeuse. Yes, red, blue, white is hotter than the red. And just like a flame, that's another characteristic about the spectrum of stars that give away what they're made of. And this is the same view with my buddy in Tennessee who took this picture. If you could see hydrogen alpha with your naked eye, this is a special filter on here. All right. This is Matt Harbison. Won many awards with this. This is actually looking up at the sky. But if your eyeballs were sensitive to hydrogen alpha, you would see a cloud that Orion is embedded in that's in our Milky Way galaxy. Okay. Just like these stars are in our Milky Way galaxy. Isn't that incredible? This is what the eye doesn't see of what's going on in the nighttime sky. All right. And in there's the Horsehead Nebula, the Crab, there's the Orion Nebula part of it. And Matt, took over 1,000 different frames and stitched them together for this masterpiece that he's won a lot of awards for. More than meets the eye, folks. Well, there's how you find Sirius there in relationship to Orion the Hunter. See, Marty's like a little tunic he's wearing with the three belt stars there. There's no stars that show his head or his feet. They kind of imagine those. And to look at the brightest star in the sky is just looking at a point of light. Yet you can photograph it, and you're not actually seeing the star surface there that is overexposed of the star. And again, there's the three stars, the red of Aldebaran, Sirius, and Procyon make up the winter triangle. In Canis Major, those are the Hunter's two dogs there with him. So we're coming down here to the home stretch. I've showed you the winter circlet or the G spot in the sky up there of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bright stars. You're going to throw in Mars, and Mars is below Castor and Pollux. Okay. And Jupiter, they'd be like right in there on this on there. So thank you, Elena. Glad you found it very interesting. Go outside and get you some starshine. It'll do you good out there. And of course, as you're looking at Orion's belt, you have the Pleiades star cluster will be in the sky overhead. And you'll be saying, gee, the Pleiades, look at that little dipper up there. That's the little dipper. No, it's not the little dipper. It is the 7 little sisters up there, the Pleiades. And that's also a cluster called the Hades, that when you look at those with your binoculars, you see 100 stars in the Pleiades instead of the 6 or 7 you can see. And same with the Hades there on the in the night sky. And this is how the Pleiades looks with a time exposure photo that some of you might be taking with some new high-tech telescopes out there we'll talk about. So, well, thank you, Marty, for a good job. Thank you all for watching. Tom Usiak just joined us, and hope that you get out and get a little bit of star shine. It's a peaceful thing to do, just to look up in the sky and contemplate the why and the wherewithal of this universe of ours that we know so little about. I'll pick up some of the new Webb telescope discoveries on next Monday. There's been some breaking news of it's discovering things that shouldn't be there, like very young black holes and galaxies that are been created just several 100 million years after the Big Bang. So the Webb telescope, coupled with the Hubble, are really doing great things. But you look up in the sky, and what you're only going to see from your backyard is you're going to be lucky to see 50 stars that you can count. All right. Here's 8 of them that are the brightest that'll lead you to the other constellations out there. So, hope that you've all enjoyed this as part of our STEAM education here at the American Space Museum. Also, part of our education is promoting the Ohio State University, a great place to get an education, Marty, like I did. Okay. But I should have got an engineering degree, not a liberal arts degree, if I wanted to make any money like some of you out there. So, thank you all for watching. Go Buckeyes. And until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us. Go Buckeyes.